Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for being with us today. We're very proud to be here. It's a momentous day for those of us who have been working to help protect the children of Pennsylvania and across this country. But most importantly, we're here to talk about the issues and the ills that are going on within Pennsylvania. Today, we are here to ask the Senate to take to the floor an important bill that is called the S.E.S.A.M.E Act, which would help protect school-age children from predatory teachers. Today, throughout this country, but especially in Pennsylvania, we have a crisis going on which affects thousands and thousands of children every year across this country, which is predatory teachers injuring children. And what's worse is that oftentimes these teachers are protected over the children. What we're here to do is to ask the Senate to take this bill up for a vote. It's a vital bill that we believe can help fix an essential problem. And I just want to touch on a couple of things. Sex abuse by teachers across this country affects 4.5 million students between K and 12th grade. In more than 1/3 of the sexual misconduct cases, offenders do not lose their teaching certification, and it's a process that needs to be fixed very quickly and very soon. We're honored to have Senator Williams here with us, who wrote the bill for Pennsylvania. But first, I'd like to call up John Suryak, who's the board member of S.E.S.A.M.E, to make a few brief statements. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Senator Williams. Stop Educator Sexual Abuse, Misconduct and Exploitation is here today to support Senator Anthony Williams in his efforts to bring to a vote and pass Senate Bill 1381, known as the S.E.S.A.M.E Act. Senate Bill 1381 is intended to prevent the commonly known practice of passing the trash. Passing the trash is the all-too common practice of concealing sexual misconduct by deviant educators, allowing them to quietly resign, retire, or transfer in lieu of discipline, and reporting them for criminal prosecution so they can gain employment in another school setting. Sexual abuse by deviant educators, the very people who are supposed to protect and nurture our children and who hold a sacred trust, is a widespread problem in America's schools. As Lauren alluded to, nearly 1 in 10 students will be the victim of sexual misconduct during their school career. That's an estimated 4.5 million current K through 12 students. And as said before, in more than 1/3 of the sexual misconduct cases, offenders do not lose their teaching certification, let alone face legal consequences. The typical pedophile employed in our schools will make his or her way through 3 different employment settings before being stopped. Passing the trash devastates the lives of numerous victims, and it is far-reaching. This must end. Senate Bill 1381 will deter this insidious practice by imposing fines or imprisonment for employers who deliberately collude with teachers' unions to protect educators who prey on our children, and instead require them to make the life-saving reports to stop the predator and protect our children. It is our hope that with the passage of the S.E.S.A.M.E Act, our students will have a proper protection they deserve. Schools must remain a safe place for our youth to study, learn, and grow. The systemic flaws that exist today will be corrected with Senate Bill 1381. S.E.S.A.M.E is honored to bear the name of such important legislation. We thank Senator Williams for his courageous service and for hearing our cry. And just on a side note, as a father of 6 and a grandfather of 6 and a classroom teacher of 34 years, I'm extremely passionate about this legislation and the protection of our children. So thank you again, Senator Williams, and for the opportunity to be here.
Glad you all could be here. You can all come. You don't have to stand so far away. There's only 3 of us. We actually have the bill which moved from committee. Senate Bill 1381 actually moved from the Education Committee about a month ago. This is not about reaffirming the commitment or the need for this important legislation. This is about just expediting the process. We're quite aware that we're in budget season, that a lot of attention on a variety of issues and items. And certainly while this is significant, we're quite clear that there are other pressing problems in this building. That said, we will run a calendar, there will be bills that will be passed, and we believe that if we're going to pass bills beyond the budget, and we're going to make priorities to expedite issues and elevate them so they can have quick and speedy resolution, this certainly should be amongst them. Let us redraw our attention to why this legislation has been crafted. And by the way, it is not just focused upon teachers. It focuses upon everyone who is interacting with our children in the educational paradigm. That means administrators, that means coaches, that means teachers, that means the whole litany of individuals who occupy our children's time, attention, and frequently their admiration. And too often, in not just recent history, but in past history, that admiration has been greeted with manipulation by predators who use that attention and put a child in a compromising and damaging set of circumstances that frankly follows them for the rest of their entire life. For many of us, it was surprising to find how easily the system protected those people who are predators within this system and actually rewarded them with a pass card that allowed them to remove themselves from legal prosecution, because all too often parents, along with the school system, that means parents who don't want to put their child in a legal community to have them actually have to testify, either because of the trauma or because they're confused by their feelings. A system which is concerned about libel suits as opposed to the consequence and scars to a child. And so this legislation was crafted to allow school districts to know who they're hiring before they are confronted with the consequence of a act that one can't redeem themselves or turn back the clock on. This actually is the first proactive step of its kind in the history of Pennsylvania, and I'm grateful that S.E.S.A.M.E and others have worked with me diligently to craft this language. But I'm most grateful that Senator Piccola, who could not be with us today, who's chairman of the Education Committee, found it in his broad and active committee structure to allow this piece of legislation to be moved literally within months. And he is the one who moved it out of committee, has brought it to the floor. And so we're simply here today standing before you asking that the leaders of the Senate chamber allow for this piece of legislation to move for a vote within the chamber, because we feel very confident and comfortable that it receives the ability to be voted upon, that will move unanimously from the Senate to the House, from the House to the governor, and the governor to sign it. And so no longer children will be victims of unknowing predators who are amongst us, and in fact can be protected, and that parents can rest assured that the educational system is at least pristine when it comes to actually predators being allowed to traverse amongst themselves openly and freely within that system. With that, I thank you for being here today. I thank S.E.S.A.M.E supporting me, and I hope that the members of the chamber, Senate chamber here and the House chamber here actively, and will move this bill expeditiously to the governor's desk. With that, I'll close, and if there's any questions, we'll be happy to respond.